The sorts of things that they get to do in a workshop?
A lot of our groups use robotics because that's a really fun thing to do. So we have a thing called Lego Mindstorms. You basically have a robot made out of Lego, and there's this nice basic program that you can edit, and you can make your robot move forward, backwards, and follow different paths. And so you teach them the basics, and then you set a challenge for them to either get out of a maze or collect pieces off the ground, or something like that. That's usually goes down really well, but we also like to do other sort of engineering activities, such as building bridges out of various different materials. And yeah, lots of other bits and pieces like that. Just make sure, get them using their hands and get them thinking about how they can solve different challenges.
And do you want them to think about this stuff not just while they're at school, but when they're at home as well?
Yeah, I think it is good to not just keep it in school, which is why we have, as part of RoboGirls, we have a science competition as well called the Science Challenge. And what that is, it's people can at home, they can run through different science experiments with either one of their parents or another person who can be their mentor, and then they could submit a video of an experiment of their own choice.
And what sorts of reactions do you get from girls who take part in these challenges or workshops?
Always very positive responses from them. You can just see their eyes light up when they're talking about whatever it is that their project is, and you can see they get a lot out of it. I think they sort of get to find that they actually really enjoy science, which I think sometimes might be a surprise for them, or others they just continuing to sort of go in that area of something that they're passionate about.
On ABC Radio Sunday Drive, you're listening to me, Lyndall Curtis, and I'm talking to Katie McClelland, the Chief Development Manager of RoboGirls and an engineer. Katie, do you get questions at these things about the job that you chose and your path to become an engineer?
Yeah, I think I do a little bit. People are always curious to see how I've managed to get to where I am, particularly being a minority in engineering. It's always interesting to hear the story, whether you have a relative who's an engineer or whether somehow you've managed to find it in another way.
And also, do you interact with parents at all? Because parents can be, I know as a parent myself, that we can influence for good or bad the thoughts of our children.
Yeah, actually, parents are some of the best people to, I guess, get involved in things like this, because that's what they're the people students listen to a lot. A lot of the programs we do are usually school-based. Our workshops are run at the schools, but we do also try to run other ones during school holidays. So you get the parents come along to that, and they get to see what their child's doing at that, which I think is important. Then they can go back home and do more experiments.
How has RoboGirls grown over the time that you've been involved with it?
It's actually grown massively since when I first started. I think at the time, in 2012, we were mostly just based in Australia with one or two other chapters in other countries. And since then we've expanded to about 10 different countries across the world and about 30 chapters. So it's certainly grown a lot since when I first started.
Do you keep in touch with the people who are involved in RoboGirls in those other countries?
I do actually. That's one of the fun things, a part of my role. I get to do a lot of internal work which involves running conferences for the different regions. So I get to meet a lot of the people in our North America and our Europe, Middle East, Africa regions, and stay in contact with them. I think it's always handy having contacts overseas, particularly if you're going travelling. You have someone you can pester to come say hello and maybe stay a night at their house to get free accommodation.
And are the experiences that they have with encouraging girls into subjects like science and maths similar, or do they face different sorts of challenges?
I think in some ways everyone does sort of face that same challenge of there being the minority of women in STEM. But it is quite different if you go to the different countries. It's sort of a different slightly different issues that they face, but it all sort of falls under that same banner of not being much diversity in STEM.
And how do you think you mark the success of RoboGals? Is it maybe seeing more girls take up or stay with maths and science at school and then go on to something in the STEM field, the science, technology, engineering and maths field at university?
Yeah, I think, that's what we do like to see. At the moment, we're sort of starting to see students that were once sitting as a student in our workshops and then they then become a volunteer themselves, which is really cool. You can see that our workshops actually have paid off and it's helped encourage them to pursue engineering. The actual being able to measure that is one thing that is quite tricky, given the number of students, I guess, that we reach over the course of the years, and actually being able to see what they've done is hard to see. But hearing stories from people who've come to uni and then volunteered at RoboGirls, or just getting little letters from students that we've taught, I think's really good to see, to show that we've been doing what we've aimed to do.
Those letters must be pretty precious.
Yeah, I've got one I think up in my room. It's a nice little picture from a girl.
And just to get down to the nuts and bolts, is there a good way to build a robot?
I think there's many ways. Depends what you want to, I guess, want it to do. The Lego, I think, that we use is always a very easy way because everyone's used Lego previously. I I don't think there's one way to do it.
And do you find that, or do the girls who take part in those sorts of workshops building things come with a preconceived idea, or do you find all sorts of different things that they build during the workshop?
I think they all have very different ideas of what they want to do. You do get some interesting ideas of what they think engineering is before you start with them. There's always some very funny responses initially. They're always really awesome to teach and quite creative when you come up to the challenges towards the end of the workshop.
Well, Katie McClelland, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, no worries.